guys, Marty Schwartz here with Marty Music, and we're going to take a little departure today, but this is a very important topic. We're going to talk about recording, and specifically recording your guitar, which I think is such a valuable tool for you as a growing musician. One, you can record your ideas, you can work creatively on your songwriting, you can create backing tracks for you to practice to. There's just so many things about it that can make you a better musician that I thought it was finally time for us to dig into it a little bit. Huge shout out to IK Multimedia for sponsoring this video, and I'm going to teach you some recording techniques using their brand new Axe IO Solo, which is this killer interface. In fact, it's launching today. So be sure to check out the link in the description, you guys. Let's get to it. All right, so there's a few things you're gonna need to get started. One, I've got a laptop. So you're gonna need some kind of computer. I've got the Axe IO Solo here. I've got a guitar, cable, but also you're gonna want a pair of headphones that have a 1/4-inch jack, because most interfaces and audio equipment is gonna have the guitar size jack. So you're gonna need one of these. So pretty much any computer, any brand, laptop, desktop, from the last 5 years is gonna have the capability for you to record mostly somewhere between 8 to 12 tracks. Now let's say you don't have a computer, but you have a cell phone or an iPad. Well, IK Multimedia, they make a line of products called iRig that you can check out that are great for mobile devices as well. But for today's video, we're gonna be using my laptop and the Axe IO Solo. I would say for almost the entire history of recording guitar, studio engineers have used a microphone right into the speaker cabinet. And that really is probably the most common way. It's the way I like to record the guitar. You just get a nice authentic sound that way. I want to talk about a few different miking techniques for an amplifier. When you're miking the guitar amp, what you want to look for is actually look inside at the actual speaker cone itself. Now, if you go directly into the center of that circle, that's the brightest that the amp is going to sound. As you move it to the side, where the center cone meets the outside, and you actually can see sometimes like little drippings of like the wax or the glue around it, you want to, the more you move to the side, the darker the sound gets. Now, also, the closer the microphone is to the speaker, the less room sound you get, like that extra ambience. And as you back the microphone up, you get that room sound. So those are all tried and true miking techniques for a guitar amp. However, in this more modern time with all this great technology we have, you can actually plug your guitar cable straight into the interface and actually still get like really authentic guitar sounds. And so that's also probably the easiest way to get into this. So that's what we're gonna do. With recording direct, there are some great benefits. One, it's very easy to use. And two, you're isolating your signal, so you're not gonna have possible bleed throughs, especially, you know, when you're playing with other loud instruments. You'll have complete control over it. You have all kinds of effects and simulations that you can add right into it afterwards. So for instance, if you just put a nice clean direct signal, later you could decide that you wanted it distorted. Whereas if you're recording a distorted amp, you're never going to be able to change that sound. So it gives you a lot of creative freedom even after you've recorded. You also may notice that I'm actually coming out of this device using the amp out. This allows me to run through the Axe IO Solo and record what's going in the input, but also still hear my guitar in the room. And if I wanted to, I could mic the amp and plug that mic into input 2 on the Axe, giving me both a direct input track and a recorded amp track to play with when I start mixing. Now, one of the really cool things about this Axe IO Solo is that you have actually extra amount of control over your guitar right with the front input. And I want to walk you through that. We all love playing around with knobs. I'm no different. You're no different. And the first knob that we're going to talk about here is the Z-Tone knob. The Z-Tone knob interacts with your guitar's pickups to work like an EQ, allowing you to make a few key tone adjustments. One side says sharp, and then the other side, all the way to the right, says bold. Now, with me messing around with it, sharp gives you more tinny kind of sound, obviously like that higher ends are getting boosted. And as you roll it over towards bold, you get, more lows and mids, so a little bit of a warmer tone. Right here, we've got a couple of switches, and this one has two options here, right below the Z tone. One is passive, and one is active, and that's referring to the pickups in the guitar. Let's face it, there's a lot of different kinds of guitars with different output in the pickups. So for instance, like a vintage guitar that has single coil, low output guitar, you're most likely going to want to use the passive setting. Now you have a more modern guitar, humbuckers, really hot, loud sounding guitars, it's probably going to be better to go to the active switch. Now, this thing is easy enough to use where you could try both and just hear which one sounds better. So, I mean, you can be intuitive about it, but that is basically the concept of this active and passive setting. Right next to the passive and active switch is another switch that says JFET and Pure. And those are referring to the preamp sounds that you can get. And a JFET is emulating more of a tube sound, so it's actually coloring your signal of your guitar, whereas the Pure setting is going to give you a more like direct signal sound that you can then alter later in mixing. Now that we've talked about how to actually capture the sound, let's talk about how to record it. So what you're going to be doing is recording your guitar onto what's called an audio workstation. And there's so many different audio workstations to choose from. We're going to be using GarageBand because that's what comes on my Mac. And it's, once again, intuitive. It's a nice entry-level program to get familiar with. Also, on most of these programs, you're going to have multi-tracks that you can record to, things like a click track, being able to rewind, fast forward, which we call scrubbing, looping. They all have the same function, but I think GarageBand's a great one to start with. So let's take a look. So when you open GarageBand, you're going to start with a blank project, a brand new open project. And once you select that, it's going to ask you to select your track. So within that setting, you have two choices, a microphone track or a direct track. And we're going to pick the direct track. When you've chosen to connect your guitar straight in as your track, from there, you can see down in the left corner of that window, it says input. Now I'm going to pick input 1 because I'm in the one input on the Axe IO Solo. Now, if you pick input 1 and 2, you're going to be getting the signal from this channel as well as the second channel, which we're not using right now. So that's why we're only picking input 1. There's another thing you need to check, though. So below where it says input, you're going to see in, small print, my instrument is connected with. And then there's a little button arrow that you can hit. If you hit that, it opens up your preferences and your sound devices, etc. So if you see, it'll say device, output device, input device. All you got to do is click on those, and if you have your Axe IO Solo plugged into your computer, it will show up as one of the choices, and voila! You're now ready to go. One of the main benefits of recording direct is that you can shape the sound any way you like after the fact in post-production. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to do a direct recording and play some clean guitar right into the Axe here. And then I'm going to show you how you can get any tone under the sun after the fact. Check it out. Okay, so let's take this thing into GarageBand and just look at a few options on how you can totally morph the sound of your DI guitar signal. Selecting an amp. On the left of the screen, you can see several different categories of amps based on their sound. There are a variety of clean and distorted amp sounds that use amp modelers built right into GarageBand. I'd love to run you through a few of the sounds you can mess around with. Metal. Here's a metal sounding riff I recorded. Normally what I like to do is start clicking different options and just seeing what sounds good. You can see the design of the amp in the software is meant to hint at your favorite amps, so you can kind of already know what they're going to sound like. The first amp head graphic at the bottom gives you a few tone options. This isn't the actual amp modeling software, I'll get to that. If you click EQ, you can mess around with the frequency spectrum on the guitar, meaning you could turn up or down different pitches of the guitar. I want this tone to be just a touch brighter, so I'm going to boost around 5 kilohertz. If you click the little amp button to the right of the screen, you can see the actual amp modeler and can make more specific changes. My favorite is the mic placement simulator. You can really hear how the mic placement affects the tone by grabbing this mic and moving it around. You can even change which mic is being used. There's also a pedal board that gives you even more options. Just like a real-life pedal board, the order matters. As I turn these on and off, you can hear how they affect the sound. And if I remove the flanger pedal, you see the flanger knob at the bottom of the screen go away. Rock. As we select our next amp, you can see the initial amp head and what changes you can make. But I want to add some more brightness, so let's check out the amp modeler and the speaker cab. This Dynamic 57 mic is meant to mimic an SM57, and it'll make the guitar sound brighter than this ribbon mic emulation. Country. With the country tone, I'll use this tweed amp. And use the EQ to bring in more brightness. And go to the speaker cab to make some adjustments and bring the mic closer to the speaker to add more clarity. Punk. For this one, I want to use an amp that sounds more like a Marshall. I'll add a little brightness and clarity. I think you're getting it at this point. right, I hope you guys enjoyed that little breakdown. Now, if you're interested in this topic and you want me to teach you some more about recording and recording your guitar, let me know in the comments below. Also, huge shout out once again to IK Multimedia for letting me teach you this lesson with this brand new piece of gear, the awesome Axe IO Solo. It sounds great and it's really easy to use, so I recommend it. Be sure to check it out in the description below. Thanks again for supporting Marty Music, you guys. Hope to see you again.